In today's mobile world, with access to our workplace 24 hours a day, no matter where we are, work-life balance is a challenge. The emergence of the hybrid workforce is forcing employers to reassess their obligations and set clear, formal boundaries that help their people to manage their work commitments and their personal time. Our adaptive technology harnesses AI to supercharge cloud collaboration services and provides businesses with the tools they need to support their workforce and accelerate growth. Imagine collaboration clouds that predict individual needs, instinctively adapting and reconfiguring in real time, and resulting in the increased adoption and consumption of these services. Clouds that easily and securely connect hybrid workforces to cloud services without the need for explicit intervention. Imagine intuitive, adaptive, secure collaboration clouds driven by contextual awareness and habitual behaviors. You don't have to imagine. BroadSource. Get them to cloud, make them use it.
So, as I said, it's my pleasure to introduce Haydn. So, Haydn, over to you.
Good morning or afternoon or evening, Matt. Hi, how are you? Hi, Clark and the rest of the CCA membership. How are you? And welcome to all the guests. My name's Haydn Faltyn. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called BroadSource here in Australia. It is coming up to 1:30 in the morning, so I'm fully clothed and not in my pajamas, and thank Matt for organising us to join at such wonderful hours. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Matt, for the introduction. I think today what I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about how Matt introduced the opening, which is around how we hope to work with service providers, how we think service providers can differentiate their offerings and capitalise on their assets associated with their mobile technology, that convergence that Matt talked about, and how we can bring some pretty unique and specialised experiences to help the workforce transition from traditional office environment to what is in effect a hybrid workforce. Now, I've probably got some slides to share as well, Matt, if I can, and I think I can do that by sharing a screen. Okay. Can I ask whether you can see my screen at all? Is that Matt, are you there? No? Okay. Well, let's get on with the conversation about what we believe is the future of the hybrid workforce and the challenges that enterprises in distributing their workforce now out into homes, into non-structured working environments really need to now think about the obligations that are now going to be in front of them in terms of managing very important issues like work-life balance. And it's clear for millions of people now that the lines of work and life have been very blurred. And that their personal time and their work time now are one and the same thing in a very common environment, possibly the home office environment. And really, hybrid work is here to stay to varying degrees. For many of us, it's actually a blessing. For those who have the environment, the technology, the tooling, if you like, to stay connected and stay productive. But not everyone's going to be great at being able to manage this new way of working, and many people are going to have difficulty managing the way in which they build barriers, build communication boundaries around the way in which they work. People embrace technology very differently. People have access to different levels of technology to be able to stay connected to their other staff members and to customers alike. We see a significant focus being driven by enterprises in being able to develop a real duty of care for people, an ability to create some defined boundaries, and that may not just be a duty of care, it may well be a legislative obligation for them to be able to operate in certain ways. maybe stay compliant when interacting with customers, but do that in a very different world than in a formal context of the office. So what we'd like to do for the next few minutes is talk about what we can do as an industry to help businesses help their staff, in effect. And what can we do as an industry to offer services that keep it simple, but equally create more formalized and structured boundaries around the ways in which people can continue to collaborate and communicate. We really do want an opportunity for people, while it was not their making, now working from literally anywhere, to still participate in what in effect is the hybrid workforce. I'd like to spend the next few minutes kind of building a case with you on how we believe you guys can leverage your collaboration clouds to better serve, in effect, what is that post-COVID hybrid workforce. How you, as distributors of communications traffic into the home and into the offices, and maybe even to the contact centers of the future, can, as a service provider, participate in building these virtual boundaries, these virtual walls of communication within what is a virtual world, but within a physical presence. How can you take responsibility to differentiate those services and better contribute as a service provider to helping enterprises deliver better work-life balance outcomes? I'd like to also present a case over the next few minutes describes what's now capable on your networks which are now open cloud collaboration platforms, API-driven, connected to the internet, ultimately delivered on multiple devices to endpoints, and those endpoints being in any location. And I'd like to build a case that says, how do we leverage those existing features and functions that are in your cloud collaboration networks, those that are delivering UCaaS and CCaaS services, those features and functions, how do we bring them to life? And how do we bring them to life in a way in which that actually helps the people consuming them run a better work-life balance, a better compliance model for no matter where they work? We firmly believe that those service providers who can capitalize on the services that they're probably already selling to their customers today, but are predominantly laying dormant through a really difficult process by which people engage to configure these services. How do we bring those services to life? And how do we get people to interact with those on a daily basis? So we know that hybrid work and the work environment for us, to some degree, and for many, will stay to various degrees. But the definition of hybrid work really means, for most of us now, that context switching for us is even more present than ever. And the balancing of one's work life and personal life are now even more complicated, and we need to supply technologies that help drive a simplification of those environments. So how do you, for example, as an employer, offer a communications environment that really does create a distinction between personal work and personal time and business time? How do you, as an employer, meet your obligations as an employer around work-life balance? How do you allow people within their home environment to clock on and clock off, to move into a compliant mode of operating and maybe move out of that compliant mode of operating? Our observation and our research tells us that the harsh reality is that the collaboration tooling, the interfaces we as cloud collaboration providers offer our end users, are really are too difficult to use, and the end user is really never motivated to interact with those features. They really don't configure their end user services to allow them to capitalize on the value, the potential power of those cloud collaboration services to drive a better work-life balance. So we're finding that a lot of the cloud collaboration platforms are kind of, particularly in a home context, a home office context, kind of set and forget. And it's become a real critical problem for service providers to be able to differentiate and have people engage and kind of drive adoption of their services. No one really has the time or the inclination kind of to manage a feature that manages work-life balance and drives that kind of consumption of your network services. So we all know what it's like to kind of be sitting at your home office and someone to ring you, but have all three devices kind of ring at the same time, whether it be your laptop, your mobile phone, or even your hard phone sitting at home. And equally, when you leave your home and you depart, your service simultaneously rings all three devices, whether you're at home or not. Wouldn't it be a great day where the network just knew that you were sitting at your desk and that maybe the only device to be ringing is actually your laptop soft phone? But as you leave home and you change your context, if you like, that maybe your mobile phone's the only device that rings because the network just knows. Excuse me. So here's the opportunity to differentiate with the assets that you guys already own. As Matt talked about, the mobile assets, the fixed assets that you have, combining those types of entities together along with the openness of your cloud collaboration platforms to drive contextual awareness. And what that means for us is actually to use, in effect, a very simple device, and it's probably the most powerful kind of IoT device that we have available to us now, which is actually one of these. It's actually the mobile phone. And most importantly, it's now connected to its owner, to the user, 24/7 a day. And so we've got the opportunity now to connect the human being, if you like, to the network interface, and the network interface being the mobile phone, and to drive basic contextual awareness by understanding where this phone is and what it's doing at any moment of every day. So what we're trying to drive is brand new user experiences, those experiences that allow people to just move about their day because we know this device is going to be within a few meters of them at all time. And the opportunity for people to not have to explicitly interact with their cloud collaboration service, but just by having the power of the mobile phone sensory capabilities, in effect acting like an IoT sensor for cloud collaboration. So what we believe is that the best UI is kind of no UI. Don't ask your subscribers to interact with another portal. They just don't. They don't interact with portals. So use the mobile phone software and hardware capabilities to automatically infer, create contextual awareness, and drive the network features that best suit that user at that particular time, whether it be macro location like GPS location, micro location in the home office, in the kitchen, and to drive the usage and consumption of those features, driving more simplified, less onerous interactions between the human, the subscriber on your network, and the subscriber services. And in doing so, creating more formal boundaries by which people can move about their day. Put their phone in the kitchen, maybe they're in personal mode. Put their phone in the home office, and maybe they're in business mode. So what we see as the future of cloud collaboration is one where the service provider takes responsibility for helping businesses create these boundaries of operation. Now, those boundaries are actually just what we would traditionally know as cloud collaboration providers, your features that exist in your network today, simultaneous ring, do not disturb. All those features exist, but they're just lying dormant at the moment. And so we're really keen on working with service providers to build sort of the future of the human interface to the cloud, which is not necessarily through a brand new UI, but just through the fact that the mobile phone is a really powerful sensory device, and we can drive contextual awareness, the network's behavior, to automatically, and in the best interests of the end user, drive these brand new end user experiences. So what I've basically been talking to a number of people about over the last year or so since COVID's hit is the fact that we believe that the new landlords of business are no longer the commercial entities, but maybe the new landlords of the future are actually the global service providers who have the rent roll coming towards them in terms of increased subscriptions, increased subscription revenue through creating virtual office spaces within the home or with anywhere. And so what we're really keen on doing is helping service providers with this new opportunity to differentiate by creating boundaries that drive work-life balance, the hybrid workforce, the context switching that occurs for people at every moment of every day. How about we as a service provider community take responsibility for helping create those boundaries, help the end user context switch by the network automatically context switching itself and keeping up with, and just having the end users back as they go about their day. So with that, I think my 10 minutes is up, and I'd like to hand back to Matt and say thank you so much for the opportunity again for being a part of this year's event. I'm sad that I'm having to do this in the middle of the night again, and I thought it was going to be my last, but I'm looking forward to being with you guys again, probably in the US with Clark and the CCA and the membership and the Cavell Group. So thanks so much for the opportunity, and looking forward to participating over the next couple of days. Thanks,
Haydn, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for your talk. It's been fascinating to learn through. And if anyone wants to get in touch, please get in touch with Haydn via the app or directly via his email. I think all his details are going to be online later on. So thanks for that, Haydn.